Let me tell you all something about neighborhoods like this. On the surface, everything's perfect: manicured lawns, white picket fences, and smiles that last just long enough to check if you've got the right kind of car. But the moment someone doesn't fit the mold, the whole HOA system moves like a hive of hornets. And on that particular Thursday morning, their target was a woman named Amara Briggs. It was 7:42 a.m. Overcast skies with a hint of Florida humidity hanging in the air. Amara was just trying to walk her two dogs, Chaos and Mercy, and head to her friend Rochelle's place inside a gated community called Willow Pines Reserve. A place where you couldn't sneeze without an HOA permission slip. She wasn't dressed for trouble. Just black joggers, a dark grey hoodie, and those old trail boots she never quite stopped wearing after the military. Her two German shepherds padded silently beside her, lean, alert, focused. The kind of animals that don't bark for fun. They assess. They wait. Amara approached the front gate, scanning her phone for Rochelle's address when the golf cart pulled up. Not just any golf cart, this one had a rusted metal rack mounted on top. Red and blue bicycle lights zip-tied to the roof. And the words HOA Enforcement Unit stenciled across the side in fading yellow spray paint. Out stepped two men. One was a tall, stocky figure with thinning hair and a name badge that read HOA Officer Rixin. The other was shorter, leaner, with a high and tight haircut and aviator sunglasses he refused to take off. HOA Officer Renner. They looked at Amara the way you look at a raccoon digging through trash. Disgust, suspicion, and a sick kind of eagerness to exert power. You lost? Renner asked. Already squinting like sunlight offended him. Amara barely looked up. Just walking to a friend's house. Rochelle Taylor. Unit 47. Rixin scoffed. Unit 47's inside the gate. You don't look like a resident. Amara gave a small, practiced smile. Didn't say I was. I said I'm visiting. Renner shifted his weight. Gate access is for residents only. No loitering. No soliciting. No. He looked her up and down wondering. She raised an eyebrow. You always interrogate guests like this? Or is it just the skin tone? Rixin bristled. Excuse me? You heard me, Amara said, tightening her grip on the dog's leashes. Mercy picked up on the change instantly, her ears twitching. Stance shifting half a step forward. Renner walked closer. Chest puffed. This is a private community. Ma'am. You're not authorized to be on HOA property. Amara tilted her head. Sidewalk isn't HOA property. It's county maintained. You're standing on public access. Rixin glanced at Renner. And for a split second, their bravado cracked. Then Renner sneered. Public or not, if you cause a disturbance, we can detain you until law enforcement arrives. Amara laughed. Low and cold. You think those tacky vests and golf cart sirens give you arrest powers? News flash, you're not cops. Mercy barked once. Sharp and sudden. And Rixin jumped. Renner's hand went to his belt, where a neon orange plastic baton hung. Less weapon, more cosplay. But Amara saw something darker in his stance. The weight of a man who wasn't used to being told no. Who thought compliance came with color and silence. Step back, Amara said firmly. You're escalating. Rixin pointed. We've had break-ins lately. Strange vehicles. Strangers walking dogs. And I bet every stranger looked like me. Amara replied, her tone dropping. The sidewalk was empty. No witnesses. No cameras but the ones controlled by the HOA board. That's when Mercy growled, a low, guttural sound, and Chaos planted himself directly between Amara and the men. Rixin fumbled with his radio. We might have a code black, code breach at gate 3. Code black. That was the moment Amara knew. This wasn't about protocol. It was personal. And it was about to turn dangerous. But what they didn't know, what they couldn't have guessed, was that Amara Briggs wasn't just a dog owner with a good memory for municipal codes. She was a former Navy SEAL. And she didn't need a badge to enforce justice. When people say tension thick in the air, They usually mean it metaphorically. But standing at the gate of Willow Pines Reserve, with Chaos and Mercy growling low and HOA officers Rickson and Renner puffing up like roosters on borrowed authority, it was literal. The air felt like static. And something was about to spark. Renner took another step forward. Too close. You need to calm your animals, he said. His voice sharper now. Less HOA official. More insecure man hiding behind a laminated badge. They're calm. Amara replied. Her eyes unmoving. You're just a threat. Rickson shifted beside him. Adjusting the oversized tactical vest that looked like it was ordered off a Halloween clearance rack. He squinted at Chaos. I've seen pit bulls more relaxed than that mutt. Chaos growled. A warning. Not a bark. Not a snarl. Just a sound deep in the chest that made every hair on your body stand at attention. Renner chuckled. But it sounded forced. If that dog takes one step toward us, I'll put him down. HOA guidelines give us authority to protect the neighborhood. Amara's tone didn't change. Say the word put again. And I'll make you eat that badge. She didn't shout. Didn't move. But the shift was there, in her posture. In the way Mercy repositioned her body diagonally in front of Amara's leg. A stance Amara had drilled 1,000 times in the desert sun and under the cold steel sky of training facilities. Rickson reached for his hip, not a gun. No. That would have required an actual commission, but a clunky-looking pellet pistol designed to look real enough to intimidate. It didn't matter. The message was the same. Don't, Amara said. Her voice now had a sharp edge, the kind that cuts through denial. The kind that precedes chaos. Step back now. Renner ordered. His own hand going for his side. Fingers brushing the grip of a taser. That was the moment everything snapped. Rickson lifted his pellet gun, too fast. Too aggressive, aiming it toward Amara's center mass. Down, Amara shouted. The next second unfolded like a military training reel. Chaos launched forward in an arc so smooth it looked choreographed. His jaws locked onto Rickson's wrist before the man could even squeeze the trigger. The gun fired harmlessly into the ground with a soft pop, just compressed air and fear. Rickson screamed. Stumbling back. Falling over the curb. His legs kicking wildly as Chaos held on like a vice. Renner reacted out of instinct, pulling the taser and aiming at Amara's chest. His finger began to tighten. He never got the chance to pull it. Mercy shot forward like a ghost. Her body weaving under Amara's arm. Hitting Renner's side with enough force to throw him off balance. The taser clattered to the pavement. Useless. Amara stepped forward and slammed her knee into Renner's stomach as he bent forward. The air burst from his lungs with a wheeze. And he folded like a card table. Control your dogs. Rickson shrieked. Now rolling on the ground while Chaos still held his arm. They are under control. Amara growled. It's you two who aren't. Renner tried to stand. But Mercy was already at his throat, not biting. Not attacking. Just standing inches away with her lips curled back. Teeth gleaming. One wrong move and she'd strike. Call them off. Renner rasped. You gonna shoot me again? Amara asked. No. No. Rickson whined. Amara snapped her fingers twice. Chaos and Mercy responded instantly. Pulling back in perfect unison. Chaos sat by her left heel. Mercy at the right, their breathing steady. Eyes locked on the two groaning men on the pavement. Rickson clutched his wrist. You're going to jail for this. Amara crouched beside him. Calm and still. Nah. You're going viral. She pulled a small body cam from her hoodie. It had been rolling the whole time. Every slur. Every threat. Every move they made. You see. Fellas, she said as she stood back up. You thought you were scaring a lone woman out of your neighborhood. What you didn't realize is that I don't scare. And these dogs? She glanced down. They're not pets. They're war-bred loyalty. The sound of a security camera buzzing caught her ear. HOA cameras, mounted at the corner of the gate, had been turned toward them minutes ago, probably when the HOA board got wind something was escalating. And now? Now they just watched their enforcement unit get absolutely humiliated. "Clean yourselves up," Amara said, walking toward the gate keypad. She entered Rochelle's guest code. The gate buzzed, then slowly began to slide open. She turned to them one last time. "Next time you decide to flex power you never earned, remember this morning. And pray I'm not the one walking by." She disappeared through the gate as the sirens of a real police cruiser howled faintly in the distance. The morning after the incident at the gate, Amara should have been nursing a bruised shoulder and taking her dogs on a quiet walk around Rochelle's backyard. Instead, she was sitting in a darkened guest bedroom, laptop open, eyes narrowed at the search results crawling across her screen. She hadn't slept. Not really. After the fight, Rochelle had demanded she stay the night, just to be safe. The HOA cops, if they could even be called that, hadn't followed her into the neighborhood. But that didn't mean it was over. It felt wrong. Too wrong. Their hostility. Their language. The way Renner had reached for his taser like he'd done it before. And the arrogance. Like he believed he'd get away with anything. So Amara did what she was trained to do. She investigated. She started with the obvious, Rickson. Nothing. A few blurry photos on the HOA's website. A junk LinkedIn profile. And a trail of digital breadcrumbs that led nowhere. Just another middle-aged man clinging to a title. But Renner was different. There were no photos of him online, not a single tagged image. No Facebook. No Instagram. No high school reunion posts. The guy was a ghost. That alone raised flags. So she went deeper. It took a few burner accounts, a call to her old contact at Fort Bragg, and a deep dive into backdoor data repositories that most civilians didn't even know existed. But at 3:47 a.m., Amara found it. A blurry scan of a redacted personnel file. Name, Daniel Renner. Alias of record, Christopher Delmont. Affiliation, Central Intelligence Agency. Division, Paramilitary Operations Group. Status, dishonorably discharged. Flagged, unstable. Rogue. Pending investigation. She sat back in the chair, letting the air leave her lungs slowly. "Son of a," Mercy raised her head from the corner. Sensing the tension, chaos stirred, rising to a sitting position with a soft growl. Amara rubbed her temples. It wasn't just HOA intimidation. It wasn't even about power. Renner wasn't some ex-military dad who got carried away with suburban politics. He was a former Black Ops asset. A ghost who had no business walking around in cargo shorts and aviators pretending to guard flower beds. He had vanished from the CIA's records 5 years ago after a failed op overseas. The official report mentioned unauthorized operations, civilian exposure, and severe deviation from mission protocol. Translation? He went rogue. Burned. And instead of disappearing forever, he'd reinvented himself, here, in Willow Pines, using HOA bylaws and fake authority to build his own personal security network. Amara whispered to herself, "You've got to be kidding me." It made sense now. The militarized posture, the tactical knowledge, the surveillance systems embedded into the HOA network, and worst of all, the loyalty of people like Rickson. Followers. Enablers. He wasn't just hiding. He was rebuilding. Renner had built his own little empire behind picket fences and architectural review boards, and anyone who didn't fit the mold, he removed them. Silently. Efficiently. That was why he didn't flinch when things escalated yesterday. Because he thought he was still in control. A knock on the door snapped Amara out of her thoughts. It was Rochelle. "Hey. You okay?" Amara looked up, the blue light from her screen painting her face in cold shadows. "I found something. You might want to sit down." 10 minutes later, Rochelle stared at the screen, speechless. "Wait. This guy works for the HOA?" "He leads the HOA Cops," Amara said, "under a fake identity. And now he's using it to monitor, intimidate, and control people who ask too many questions." Rochelle's hands shook slightly. "Amara, my husband was fined 3 times last month. They told him if he didn't comply with the security upgrades, They dissuade. Amara leaned forward. That wasn't about your gutters. That was leverage. Rena's building something here. And he's not afraid to bury anyone who gets in the way. Outside, a patrol golf cart hummed down the street again. But this time, Amara didn't feel like prey. She was hunting now. And Rena had no idea who he just provoked. You'd think the headquarters of a suburban HOA would be as harmless as their monthly newsletter. But when Amara stood outside the faux brick Willow Pines Administrative Center, she didn't see a place for dues processing or pull past disputes. She saw a fortress. A digital bunker guarded not with guns, but gate codes, cameras, and compliant silence. Security's up, Gina whispered into her earpiece from across the street. 3 cameras. Motion tracking. And I count 2 enforcers pacing near the back. Amara exhaled slowly. Confirmed. I'll go in through the east service door. You ready to pull the loop? Feed on your signal. Inside the unmarked car nearby, Detective Lee Darnell tapped the screen of her surveillance tablet. I've got body cam records on standby. If you find the server, I'll remote dump to secure storage. We need timestamps, video logs, everything. Copy that. Amara replied. Crouched beside a hedgerow just outside the loading ramp, Chaos and Mercy were at her sides. Both dogs outfitted with low-profile tactical harnesses. Silent, precise, focused. She moved. The keypad outside the service door flashed red until Gina whispered the override code into her earpiece, a 6-digit combination Amara had yanked from the HOA's file structure the night before. The lock clicked. She slipped inside. The back hallway reeked of stale air and floor wax. Empty motivational posters hung crookedly. Civility starts with you. And protecting our neighborhood. One violation at a time. The irony was thick. Main servers in the back room, Darnell whispered. Storage room marked B3. Amara moved swiftly, slipping past the security desk. Mercy took point, nose low, while Chaos trailed her flank. They moved like ghosts, trained for urban entry, conditioned to follow nonverbal commands. Outside the door to B3, she crouched low. The lights inside flickered. Footsteps. Hold, she whispered, signaling the dogs to freeze. A figure passed inside, Rickson. Bandaged wrist. Limping. He was talking to someone, probably on the phone. No. She's not in the system. Rena says she's ghosted. No plate recognition. No cell pings. But we've got her sister on the watch list. Amara's jaw clenched. They were already watching Gina. Then he said something else. Rena wants to wipe the footage from yesterday. Says we contain it now or lose everything. I'll start with the external drives. Amara had heard enough. She threw open the door. Rickson turned, eyes wide. You? He reached for the drawer. But Chaos was already airborne. The German Shepherd hit him center mass, pinning him to the ground. Mercy flanked, teeth bared, growling low. Amara stepped in, gun drawn. Where's the data? Rickson wheezed. We wiped it, liar. She yanked open the drawer. Multiple USB drives, labeled in red marker. Incident logs, dog attack footage, Rena personal archives. She shoved them into her backpack. You don't know what you're doing. Rickson coughed. He's not just some HOA goon. Amara leaned in close. Neither am I. Gina's voice crackled in her ear. Signal acquired. Patching through Darnell now. You've got 90 seconds. Copy that. Get ready to push it, Liv. Amara turned to Rickson. You're going to sit here quietly, or my dogs are going to assume you've got another taser in your pants. Chaos growled for punctuation. She slipped out the side exit, retraced her route, and jumped the fence to the maintenance alley. 2 HOA cops stood chatting by a dumpster. Neither noticed her. She was gone before they even turned. 5 minutes later, she, Gina, and Darnell were back at the safe house. Darnell plugged the drives into her laptop. This is it. Not just yesterday's footage. This is years of violations, abuse, illegal surveillance logs, and internal memos. Rena's been running a Black Ops HOA. Gina was already uploading to a secure whistleblower-dropped site. Once I hit publish, she said. It'll be everywhere. Newsrooms. Forums. Law enforcement inboxes. No takebacks. Amara nodded once. Do it. Gina hit the button. And just like that, the firewall Rena had spent 5 years building crumbled. The footage went viral in less than 12 hours. By sunrise, clips of Rena's ranting power trips, Rickson's veiled threats, and Amara's calm but commanding takedown had been shared across every platform from Reddit to late-night cable. Hashtags like #HoCorruption, #DogJustice, and #SuburbanSecrets were trending. But what truly shattered the illusion was the evidence. Emails between Rena and a shadowy list of contracted consultants. Surveillance logs tracking residents, especially non-white guests, without consent. Audio clips of Rickson using coded language to justify fines, liens, and mandatory enforcement visits. Internal memos that read more like tactical op plans than neighborhood updates. The public wasn't just angry, they were furious. By midday, a city-wide task force was formed. The mayor held a press conference flanked by reporters and investigators. Darnell stood off to the side, stone-faced but steady. This is no longer a civil code enforcement issue, the mayor declared. It is a criminal investigation into fraud, impersonation, and systemic abuse under the guise of homeowner protection. 2 hours later, the HOA board was raided. Every office, every drawer, every locked cabinet. Officers moved like a wave, sweeping the building clean of everything that hadn't already been leaked. Rickson was the first to fall. He tried to play tough, but after 2 hours in federal custody, he broke like a wet popsicle stick. Gave up everything, from how they fabricated fines to how Rena had used HOA funds to finance private surveillance equipment. Said he thought they were doing good for the neighborhood. His official mugshot showed a man who'd finally realized he was never built for war. Rena didn't go down quietly. The former CIA ghost tried to disappear again, changed plates, ditched his HOA uniform, and attempted to flee the state. But this time, the walls closed in fast. Darnell's team traced him through a burner phone he forgot to disable. He was arrested at a remote fuel stop, trying to bribe a bus driver into letting him hide in the cargo hold. The irony? He was tackled by a police canine. The officer let Amara name the dog after the takedown. She picked Liberty. The Willowbines HOA was officially dissolved 2 weeks later. The community held a vote, supervised by the city, and 91% of residents chose to dismantle the entire board structure. The bylaws were rewritten from scratch, this time with actual community input. For the first time in years, the neighborhood felt free. No more weaponized citations. No more paranoid patrols. No more HOA cops. And Amara? She didn't stick around for the applause. The city offered her a medal. She declined it. Instead, she quietly moved back to the outskirts of town. Bought a modest house with a wide yard and a fenced training course. There, Chaos and Mercy became instructors, helping her train service dogs for veterans dealing with PTSD. It wasn't flashy, wasn't glamorous, but it was real. And for the soldiers who showed up with nightmares behind their eyes and silence in their bones, Amara's compound became a sanctuary. She called it the Watchdog Foundation. Darnell visited sometimes, dropping off donuts and updates. Still don't want that medal? She'd tease. Amara would just shake her head. I've got better things to wear. One fall afternoon, as the golden light slipped across the yard and Chaos gently guided a Marine amputee through a leash drill, a group of neighborhood kids stood at the gate, watching in awe. A little girl pointed. That lady's a superhero. Amara heard her. She didn't say anything. She didn't have to. Because when justice has teeth and walks on 4 paws, it doesn't need a cape. Just purpose.